Hello and welcome to episode 93 of the How to Survive podcast. This week it's Alien Covenant, the new release in the Alien franchise. It's still in cinemas, so go and watch it before you listen to the podcast because there are spoilers ahead. And remember, you can get in touch, HowToSurviveShow@gmail.com and at HowToSurvivePod on Twitter. On with the show.
Please open up. I can't do that. Infection.
You sure about this, Captain?
How do you mean?
I really don't know what the fuck's out there.
Hello and welcome to episode 93 of How to Survive. And this week, Joe's long-awaited, the sequel to Prometheus. We're finally going to find out the answers to all the questions set by 2012's Prometheus.
Yes.
In this Ridley Scott's Alien Covenant. Final warning on spoilers because we're going to recap the plot and then chat How to Survive afterwards. So here we go. The hibernating crew of the Covenant, a colony ship, are suddenly awoken when the ship encounters a shockwave from a nearby stellar ignition, starting several fires on board. Captain Branson's sleeping pod fails to open, and as a result of leaking gas, he is incinerated inside as the crew try in vain to save him. 47 of the ship's 2,000 colonists also die.
Yeah, it's strange you don't get a good look at the captain's face before he dies.
Yeah. Played by James Franco.
Yeah.
A searing performance. While fixing the ship, pilot Tennessee picks up a mysterious transmission which the crew determine is coming from a potentially habitable planet, one much closer than their original destination. Newly promoted Captain Oram probably?
I'd say Oram.
Newly promoted Captain Oram, a highly religious man, decides to gamble on the unknown planet being a place to start a colony, and the Covenant alters its course, despite the protestations of Daniels, the original captain's wife. And she's also an engineer or something non-specific on that. She has a role other than that.
Yeah, exactly.
A ground team investigates the uncharted world and finds it to be botanically diverse but devoid of any animal life. As they explore, one of the security team, Ledwood, disturbs some small pods, resulting in airborne particles entering his ear. Meanwhile, the rest of the team discover the origin of the signal is a huge derelict spacecraft, which we, the audience, know is the engineer vessel from Prometheus. Elizabeth Shaw is revealed to be the voice heard on the message, and her dog tags are found on board. Ledwood quickly becomes sick and is rushed back to the landing craft's medbay by Karen, where a neomorph erupts from his back before attacking and killing Karen.
What's a neomorph?
So a neomorph is a, I suppose you'd say, predecessor to the xenomorph, as we'll find out. It looks pink.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the shooty out mouth.
No.
And it is quite horrible looking. But other than that, it's a pink xenomorph, basically.
It's a we can't make another film with the xenomorph in. Let's think of something new.
Yeah. Or at least you can't have a xenomorph in the first 2/3 of the film. The dropship pilot Faris tries to shoot the neomorph, but accidentally hits some explosives that kill her and destroy the dropship. The neomorph escapes. Outside, another member of the team dies as a neomorph bursts from his throat. See, he had also breathed in some of the particles. The neomorphs attack the crew, who manage to kill one, before the other neomorph is scared away by a mysterious hooded figure. With the landing craft destroyed, the team follows the figure, who leads them to a ruined city plaza featuring thousands of dead engineers. The engineers, you'll remember, are the giant pale men that we see in Prometheus. Mm-hmm. He reveals himself to be David, survivor of the Prometheus, who claims that upon arriving on the planet, the ship's bioweapon payload was accidentally dropped, annihilating its populace and contaminating the planet. The ship then crashed, killing Shaw and leaving David alone. David bonds with Walter, the Covenant's own android, who is a later version of the same model and looks identical. He reveals that in fact he killed the engineers on purpose and is disappointed that Walter does not share his capacity for higher thought, a feature that was considered troublesome and phased out of later models. David violently disables Walter. The surviving neomorph, now fully grown, attacks David's hideout and kills Rosenthal. You'll notice that names keep popping up. If you don't recognise a name, it's because there's a crew member who basically had no role until they died. David discovers it feeding on her corpse and appears to communicate with it. David is horrified when Captain Oram kills it. And David shows Oram his laboratory where he's been attempting to engineer the perfect life form and tricks him into being subdued by a facehugger.
Yeah, that's quite an amusing scene.
Yeah. Played for laughs, I think, as well. The chestburster emerges from Oram, killing him, and rampages through the building. One team member, Lope, is briefly attacked by another facehugger before it is cut off him. Daniels confronts David, who reveals Shaw actually died as a result of his experiments. David then attacks Daniels, but is apparently defeated by a now repaired Walter. Daniels and Lope escape to a cargo ship piloted by Tennessee and are joined by Walter, who aids them in defeating the xenomorph.
And that's how Alien Covenant ends.
Yes. Now back on the Covenant, the survivors prepare to re-enter hypersleep, but Lope is killed by a chestburster. T and Daniels lure the xenomorph into a hangar and after a protracted scuffle, eject it into space. As they return to hypersleep, Daniels realises too late that it is not in fact Walter on board the ship with her, but David. She cries in vain as he activates her hypersleep pod. Free to continue his experiments, David enters the hypersleep bay full of sleeping colonists and regurgitates 2 facehugger embryos, placing them in storage.
And that's how Alien Covenant ends.
Yes, it is, yeah. That's how Daniel Espinosa's life ends. Yeah. We'll get onto that. So Alien Covenant, Joe, the latest film in the Alien franchise. It's the 6th film, really, counting Prometheus. What did you think?
Well, I quite liked it when we were in there watching it. It didn't seem like it was dragging.
Okay.
I only watched Prometheus for the first time 4 days ago.
Yeah.
So I was hot for some more Prometheus-based action.
So you enjoyed Prometheus?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I think we should probably put a warning in here that we're going to discuss Prometheus with spoilers.
Yeah, so you probably shouldn't have seen Alien Covenant if you haven't already seen Prometheus.
Yeah. One thing I'd say about the movie, Alien Covenant that is that it is at its best when you've seen both Alien and Prometheus. I couldn't imagine getting much out of this film if you hadn't seen either. Yeah,
it would be difficult, definitely. I think the Alien, what would you call it, pre-title, is a bit of a misnomer almost. Like I think it should have just been Covenant. Yeah, and I think that in calling it Alien Covenant, that's definitely a sort of cynical marketing thing. And I'd imagine that Prometheus, maybe they've read somewhere that, or like some person has done some analysis and found that not enough people realised Prometheus was an alien movie.
Right. Yeah.
And
exactly.
so but I think a better title would have just been Covenant.
Yeah.
Because it feels much more cut from the same cloth as Prometheus. As it does, it feels more like a Prometheus sequel than an Alien prequel.
Yes and no. I think had Prometheus never been made and this movie was somehow made instead, you'd still be able to connect the dots. Yeah,
I don't disagree, but I think that. Well, I mean,
it requires Prometheus. Let's be clear.
Yeah,
it's like watching Lord of the Rings 2. If you haven't seen Lord of the Rings 1, it won't mean much to you.
Yeah. Or as much, certainly. I mean, let's get down to it, because I didn't enjoy it nearly as much as you. And I found it was sort of much more a Prometheus sequel than it was an Alien prequel. And I think that obviously Prometheus, if it's going to be a trilogy or a quadrilogy or whatever it is going to be, it was obviously designed to be sort of part and parcel of the Alien like wider universe.
Yes.
But actually I don't think that they blend together as well as perhaps they should, or maybe that Ridley Scott hoped.
I don't know. I think they do.
Well, like here is what I think the themes of Alien are, the Alien franchise.
Yeah, this is a fair point you're going to make. I know. I can see it coming.
Okay,
yeah.
well, themes of Alien are sort of like what could be out there, things of a greater scope or scale than humanity, and the whole sort of cosmic horror, you know, things that are unknown to humanity.
Yeah.
The mere thought of which would drive you mad, sort of thing. And then Prometheus's themes are much more sort of like meet your maker and like a Frankenstein thing of creation and engineering and creating a horror, and like a sort of deterministic, like people are meant to do certain things, or, you know, born to do a certain thing.
Yeah.
I'm born to go and find the engineers, and I'm born to create xenomorphs. And I don't think those marry together as well. And I think part of the reason for that is that I think that Alien, part of the reason Alien works so well as a film is that these humans have essentially just stumbled into something on like completely random.
It's just a bad coincidence.
Yeah. And you know, it's a complete chance that they found this ship, found the xenomorphs or whatever. And now it's not that at all. It's the first robot made by humans has created xenomorphs and then and at some point they've ended up with the alien eggs for xenomorphs have ended up on a ship, which is then crashed. And then humans have also gone to that planet. Yeah. And these alien things that attack them, it's not as much now that they take on the attributes, or, you know, they're born half out of human DNA because of the facehuggers. They're literally born out of human DNA because of design. Like someone has designed them partially from, you know, vivisecting human beings.
Yes.
As David did.
Yeah, but like I take your point that that's not what was meant in the original film, but why can't that be a story? Because
I think that by linking everything together in that way, they've made the universe feel a lot smaller than it otherwise was. Now it feels like there were engineers and there were humans who were the creation of engineers. Who were created by engineers. Yeah. And then there are xenomorphs who were created by humans. Right. As well as androids who are also created by humans. So suddenly, instead of this, like, you're getting a tiny glimpse behind the curtain of reality into this, you know, huge universe where anything could be out there and that's terrifying. Everything is linked back to humans now. Like, so all the aliens that anyone has ever encountered have either been, are either the creators of humanity or created by humanity. Yeah. And it feels smaller, and I think that's to the detriment of the film.
It's not by humanity, though, is it? It's by these engineers.
No, but do you know what I mean? Like the narrowing of scope that this has engendered.
Is it worth us just recapping Prometheus? Because I'm worried people may not know what we're talking about.
Well, we can do it in very like brief strokes.
In Prometheus, it opens on Earth, and they find some constellations in various cave paintings.
Well, before that, it opens in like prehistoric Earth.
Well, we don't know that's Earth.
Well, it's basically strongly implied to be Earth.
Where there's a big, giant, white alien man who drinks some sort of poison, and then his DNA breaks down and falls in the river on this mountain he's on. And it implies that his DNA goes on to create life on Earth. Yes. And therefore, humans are created by these white people, which we learn in the film are called engineers. Yeah. We'll come to them a little more later. I just want to make sure people know what an engineer is.
Yeah. Well, and then the Prometheus, the rest of the film is they're trying to get to the home world of the engineers. Yes, basically. Which then turns out to be like a sort of military chemical warfare installation.
Yeah, basically, because they're on their way to Earth with this black fluid, which basically they've decided humans aren't worth keeping around.
Yeah, well, it's basically a very similar black fluid to what the engineer drinks that makes him turn into molecules.
Yeah. Their experiment with humans went wrong. Humans turned out to be bad.
Yeah.
So they're going to destroy them.
Yes, that's the implication, certainly. And then as a result of that, like a sort of freak of genetic mutation, a side effect of this chemical thing is that sometimes it can manifest in a sort of embryo that then bursts out of you, which is where you get...
That's not quite right. So they get infected with it. Some people in the crew on Prometheus get infected with it. One of them has sex with his girlfriend, and because he's infected with it, she becomes pregnant with an alien
embryo. Yeah.
So it requires that in order to take on an alien form, I think.
It's muddy, isn't it? It's extremely muddy. And also it should be said that it's like the timelines on how long these things take to, kick in, how long it takes the embryos to gestate, how long it takes the chemical to work that breaks people down into bits and all that sort of thing. Yeah. Like it varies wildly. And that's like, it's just talking about it is sort of infuriating, because this is now like chained to Alien. Like, do you know what I mean? Like Alien is now dragging along with it all of this, the weight of all of this lore and like extended universe science and stuff. That this is the sort of thing that we always complain about with like franchises, where they expand to the point where you need like so much knowledge, like whereas the joy of Alien and the reason Alien is such a good film is that it's such a small story. Like it in the while
Jaws in space.
Yeah, exactly. While it hints at all these grand ideas, it's not the film where they go, let's find out all we can about the engineers. Yeah. Let's find out how this spaceship came to be and how these aliens, were bred. It's just shit. We've stumbled upon something really bad. Yeah, and that's it. That is the story.
Yeah, but I take that point, and I agree that Alien suffers for the existence of Alien Covenant and all the sequels, other than Aliens, maybe. But I disagree that this movie is... But if you take away, like, that's fine, but it's happened. This movie isn't that bad. It's only bad in the sense that it ruins the fun of Alien.
It's bad in the... but I should say, I don't think it's a bad film. Like, it's not... It's, the... like third or fourth best film in the franchise. Yeah. Out of the 6. But that
Aliens, Prometheus, this.
Potentially, And I think that, it's by far, it's far from a bad film, I think. It's just dissatisfying to see what was like a really finely tuned like an example. Like it was an example of what, all the time we compare Alien really favourably to other films.
But Alien's still a good film.
No, I know it is, but it is like, you can't say that it's the same thing as when George Lucas goes back and decides that midichlorians are responsible.
I don't think it is that bad, because that midichlorians doesn't make sense. Whereas this, he's actually thought this through and said like, okay, there is a bigger picture. And then, okay, all right, I was going to save this for later, but now we are at later, so let's do this. You broke down the theme earlier for Alien and stuff. Yeah. So for me, the strongest theme in Alien that was at play was the idea of sexual violence. Yeah. And that's wrought largely throughout it. There's the idea of forced impregnation, unpleasant things like that. But the movie, for me, one of its strongest themes, and the movie could act as a metaphor for it, is sexual violence. Yeah. I do think Prometheus has a level of that, which I'll come to shortly. But Alien Covenant, it hints at these things. I mean, there's riffs on like the futility of religion. There's riffs on creationism. There's riffs on what it means to be human. And there's even riffs on sexual violence, but none of them are explored enough for it to be particularly compelling. Do you know what I mean? There's like someone will make a passing comment like, "Oh, that's I'm a believer."
There's no payoff to Captain Oram having Captain Oram having religion.
No, exactly. Other than him saying it a few times.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There's no payoff to that. There's no yeah.
But where it differs is Prometheus does have a strong theme, and that's its name is Prometheus. Prometheus was a titan who gave fire took it from the gods and gave it to humans, and he was punished for that by being tied to a rock and having his liver pecked out for eternity, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea there, early before the film even begins, is that gods sacrifice themselves for humans, for life, you could say.
Yeah.
And then throughout the film, you end up with people sacrificing themselves to save each other. So you get, for instance, Idris Elba's character crashes the spaceship at the end to save everyone. You get the infected boyfriend, Holloway, who says, like, torch me alive, basically, to save everyone else. And he does. He gets killed. In fact, the movie opens on the engineer drinking the poison, breaking down his DNA in order to create life. That is how the movie starts, before the title sequence even. So that is the message of the film. Conversely to that, you end up with Wayland, Guy Pearce's character, who has artificially prolonged his life and created artificial life to sort of help him with his weird
obsession
quest not to die,
Yeah.
which is the opposite of sacrificing yourself to save others. And that's why when they meet the engineer, he kills them both, because he's just appalled by it. And it's also why the engineers want to kill humans in the first place, because the engineers seem to be built on this idea of sacrifice yourself to make other life, whereas humans are the exact opposite. And that's where an interesting an interesting through line into Alien Covenant comes up, because there's a conversation between David and Walter, which, for me, these were among the most interesting parts of the film. And I know you disagree on that, because it was like the philosophical, the boring parts. But
boring isn't the word. I think it's. I'll talk through what I felt about it in a minute.
So bearing in mind the idea of sacrifice and stuff, there's a conversation between Walter and David, which it comes and goes throughout the film, which is basically David can't understand why Walter would sacrifice himself or his hand to protect Daniels. And he says, do you love her? And he says, no, it's my duty. And he's like, he can't get it. And that's because David has humanity, basically. And Walter even says at one point, you were too human. And they took away that part. So I'm a different model to you. Yeah. I have less humanity. Therefore, I'm able to be sacrificing. Whereas David doesn't have that. He is essentially human. He's a robot human.
Yeah.
And therefore, he can't understand why you would sacrifice yourself to save someone else. Right? Take that to the extreme. He admires, or he take that to the extreme. He hates Wayland now, because Wayland, despite wanting to live forever, he couldn't, because he was human. And he says, I pity him. And he has sour memories of him now, of someone who he once loved.
Yeah.
And what he wants to do now is create a life form that can't die. And so he creates the alien, right? The xenomorph.
Yeah.
Which, as Ash describes in Alien, he says, I admire its purity. It's a survivor, unclouded by conscience, remorse, or delusions of morality, right? And to a robot, which just wants to survive and admires things that can survive, that is perfection, right? And you end up with David trying to win the affection of this creepy monster thing, and he gets really upset when people kill it or people are mean to it, because he wants to create something that can live with him, right? He wants to create a life which is perfect.
Yeah.
And that's human, I guess.
It's a good point, and it's well argued. You having said that does sort of make some of the themes that carry over more apparent. I still think that the title is a good representation of this. I think that a lot of the thematic stuff and even just the narrative stuff in Prometheus was abandoned to make this film more like Alien, which I think is a shame, because it's becoming more and more apparent that it's possible that there won't be another good Alien film ever. No. And a true Alien film, because Prometheus isn't really an Alien film. It's like sort of
it's got
stealth
alien,
alien film. It's like
yeah.
you know, there are plenty of other themes in themes and narrative points in Prometheus which are now just abandoned. Like, you know, the character of Shaw is, you know, literally dispensed with off screen.
Yeah.
Her mission to find the engineer homeworld is essentially abandoned.
Yeah.
Because is this the engineer homeworld? Do we know that? Is it another planet that the engineers have created?
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing telling you either way, which makes me think that it is the engineer homeworld. In which case, it's a cop out to not show the development that David went through in, you know, however long he spent on the engineer ship. If you watch on YouTube, there's a sort of prologue thing called The Crossing, which is basically Elizabeth Shaw rebuilding David, and then David puts her to sleep in a hypersleep pod while they journey to the engineer homeworld. And I feel like there's like a chunk there that goes from, I mean, in that prologue, David is saying how he admires Shaw and her kindness, and saying you're so kind, like because she's repairing him, which is like a selfless act.
Says, I've never seen such kindness.
Yeah. And I think that there feels like it cuts sort of in that prologue, it cuts quite abruptly from that and him alone on the ship to him arriving over the city and dropping the chemical weapons.
Yeah.
Like, so it feels like there was, you know, a scene or scenes of him going mad or coming to this realization, like learning more about the engineer and their race and what's in the weapons and how to operate it and all that sort of thing, which has been skipped for some reason. And I think the reason is that maybe Prometheus didn't do as well as Ridley Scott had hoped, and he wanted to
get back to Alien as much as possible.
Yeah. And I think that it's to the film's detriment that he's done this. As well as to the Alien franchise's detriment. Like, it would have been better if the Alien links were, you know, more subtly sprinkled through and bled in slowly, because he's got 2 more Prometheus sequels planned. So, like, and we already know where the aliens come from, who made them, and, you know, David in his ship is presumably, you know, the ending is implying that he's going to have an army of xenomorphs, right? That's like
more or less, which would explain Aliens.
Yeah, but like, what questions are there left to answer? Like, is he going to go to the engineer homeworld? And if so, are people now going to be asking, well, what was that other planet? Because there's not any like point at which they go, this was another world that they created.
No, I'm with you. Yeah, it's somewhat satisfying in the sense of like I said that the through line before. But you're right. That there's a great amount of non-satisfying. Yeah,
I think I'm frustrated because as a fan of Alien, I think this film has been to Alien's detriment, and as a sort of fan, a fan with qualifiers of Prometheus, I don't think that the things that I liked about Prometheus, which were mainly the things that differentiated it from Alien, I don't think it carries on enough of those either.
So here's a question for you.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier that we're never going to see a good Alien film again. What would a good Alien film look like?
Well, I mean, it's difficult to say because my instinctive reaction would be one alien and a bottle location. It'd be like Life, you know.
Yeah.
Like Life is the good Alien sequel that we didn't get, in my opinion.
But
almost.
Life is Alien.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but then, but like the only way to differentiate it is to change the genre, because Alien has already perfected that thing. But like I can't say that, you know, if they took like Aliens took Alien in a different direction, right? It became like a war film. If they took it in a further direction, like what would that be? Like, you know,
romantic drama.
Well, you know, whatever. And like
Alien 3, Alien Cubed, that had an interesting twist as well. It was in a prison, right?
Right.
That's an interesting idea. if you had it on like a submarine or something. You know, that's still in space.
That's what I mean. Like, you know, it needs that it needs that sort of isolation and fear and like dark, horrible corners for it to be curled up in where you can't see it properly and it's blending in with the pipes and all that sort of stuff.
I think one of the worst things in the movie, and this is on the back of what you said about it hiding, is when you see its full body. And we said this when we did Alien way back when, that one of the most beautiful things about the film is the fact that you never see the alien or the monster in full frame until maybe for 1 second.
It's basically until the escape shuttle.
Yeah.
You don't see it.
Yeah, it's all like shown on for 1 second. You see something, and then it'll be like the camera pans away, scared. The camera is acting like we would act, like it's turning away, which is good. Whereas in this, it's like static, and they want to show you the alien tearing someone up, but it's done in this weird CGI, which is not that good.
Yeah.
And there's no weight to it. There's no. I mean, I said this when we did Life, and I stand by it. CGI horror is not scary.
No, it's like, I don't think that's universally true, but it is always, it seems, less scary than
physical effects.
Physical effects, for sure. And I think that the way to, you know, try and get around that at least is to mix up the familiar elements of the monster, right? So you have the neomorphs, which are different. You know, I know that, you know, it comes out of their back instead of their chest, right? That's not a big difference, and it doesn't matter. Like, it is still gruesome, and it's gruesome in the way that the chest burster scene that happens later in the film isn't, because we've seen that before.
But the movie knows that, though, and it's presented as here is this thing you've seen before happen.
Yeah.
But the joke that David makes, there's an egg, which we've seen in Alien, we've seen in other movies, and he walks up to it, and the egg opens, and he goes, "Take a look. What could go wrong?" And that's very funny, because we know, that is played for laughs. Yeah. Because we know there's no tension. We know what's going to happen, and he's sort of acknowledging that.
Yeah, I think though, as I said, like the way to make it frightening again is to change what the monster is, like how it looks, how it behaves, all that sort of thing. And the thing that actually I found most frightening, I think, in the whole film is when the crew member Rosenthal is, you know, washing, and she turns around and the neomorph is stood upright behind her,
right? Yeah.
And it's like, it's a, you know, giant humanoid pink featureless monster, and then like it sort of just looks at her silently and then very abruptly like bites her head off, and like the noise that it makes when it bites her head off is like a man screaming, is what it sounded like to me. It's like it sounds like a man like shouting, like angry shouting, and that freaked me out because it was like, it's different and it's something that you haven't seen, and like there's something uncanny about it just standing like very straight and upright behind her. And you get, it's sort of investigating it, because minutes later you get the same scene with David, and it's just looking at him because he's not biological. It's just like staring at him, and he thinks he's like brought it under control, and he probably has. And then the captain kills it. But like that in answer to your broad question, I think that is how you make it interesting, is to mix up the location, mix up the familiar tropes, and instead what this does is hint at a like sci-fi universe which it then doesn't really explore, and then go, and the twist is, here is the alien that you're familiar with, which I think is disappointing.
The last half an hour, once they get back on the ship, is like, well, this is Alien. We've seen this. We've seen every single scene.
We've seen, and it's better. Like, it's been done better.
The shower scene could have been taken out of a Friday the 13th movie.
Yeah, I didn't even mention them in the two characters who get killed in the shower.
Awful.
Not mentioned in the plot summary that I did.
Like that, everything about that scene was Friday the 13th. They're like weird, like who rubs. It's unusual. It's like, it's such a weird way to behave, like in a glass thing with people on board who can walk in at any time. Do you know what I mean? If you were showering in a communal shower, with like your like colleagues could just walk in at any time. You'd be a little more
Yeah, they are husband and wife, aren't they? I think so. It's all good in God's eyes, Joe.
Yeah. Lots of husband and wives in this movie.
Yeah.
Another theme that's like, why is that there?
Yeah. Well, I presume it's like a colony thing, right?
Yeah, I get it, but why?
Yeah. Look, I don't have the answers. Alien Covenant actually, I found, bears an uncanny resemblance to a film that we covered recently, which is Life. And you were not a fan at all of Life.
No.
And I did notice a few things, specific things that Alien Covenant did that were hang-ups of yours about Life.
Sure.
For example, the point of view shot of the alien.
Yeah, that did annoy me in this movie as well. Because that's unnecessary.
Yeah, yeah.
Because a point of view shot is meant to bring you down to something's level, right? If we were to do a podcast movie, and it was from my point of view, it would be from my point of view. I mean, you're trying to get my perspective across to show, create empathy with me, and you can't really do that with an alien. It doesn't add up.
I mean, they do it in films like Evil Dead.
Terminator as well, actually.
Yeah, it's done to,
create a sense of like.
It's like it can be unpleasant to occupy the point of view.
Actually,
of,
in Halloween as well, it's voyeuristic, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe I'm chatting shit.
But yeah, that's in this film and in Life. The dodgy CGI, which you mentioned earlier, which you complained about. Yeah. CGI villains or monsters, whatever, having no weight. Derivative and predictable narrative, I think it's fair to say.
Absolutely.
And just the sense that we've seen it all before, both in this and in Life.
Yeah.
But like I don't want to dress you down, as it were, about it. But why is it that you responded more positively to this than Life, or do you think it's to do with the familiarity of the?
I think that's more or less exactly it. It's that Life was purely derivative. Right. Life was a rip-off of Alien, whereas this is a continuation of Alien.
Right.
And although this is repeating the tried and tested Alien formula, which you know how it ends. I mean, they blast the alien into space at the end in every movie, and they have to go to the planet, and the alien gets on the ship. Like it's all there, and you know it's going to happen before it even happens. But like it's forgivable because it's Alien in a way. It's like the brand. If you know what I mean.
Is that not a problem though? Do you not think that's you're just giving it a free pass because it's Alien? Like, wouldn't an equally valid criticism of it say that it's now 6 films in and it's relying on the same?
Yeah, but it isn't, because if you recall from my lengthy discussion earlier, the things I said I liked about it weren't necessarily the tried and tested things. It's the fact that it does explore more of the wider universe. And I know that I can understand why that would annoy you and why that would lessen the effect of Alien, the original. But for me, that was the most interesting thing the movie did.
Right. Because
without it, it is just a rip-off of other Alien movies. It's just like trying and testing the whole thing again. I mean, it's just repeating the whole thing again, right?
Yeah.
But having those scenes with David and Walter gives it an entirely different angle. And it gives the alien itself a different theme and a different meaning. And that, to me, is interesting.
Okay.
Whereas Life is just Alien, but the alien
essentially
is
shallow,
a rubber glove instead.
Yeah, it's shallow. Doesn't have the aspirations.
Exactly. Hey, I've got a question for you though. What would you say? Would you say that you are unhappy with how formulaic it is, and how it relies on the Alien movies and the Prometheus movie?
Well, Prometheus wasn't like other Alien films. This is like other Alien films. I think that's what's disappointing. Like, we've had 4 of this type of film already, and this feels like 2 distinct films sort of mashed together.
Right.
Like, the first third, until David shows up, essentially, it is just an Alien film.
Yeah.
And then you have like a slightly, I think, awkward mash of the 2. From that point onwards. And like I said, I would have preferred a more straightforward Prometheus sequel than to introduce all these elements.
But like I said, those are the things I enjoyed.
Yeah.
So there were new characters in this, Chris, weren't there?
Right.
How do you think of them? Good? Exciting in parts? That was good about it, yeah. That was a good part. Unnecessary mythology? Fan service?
Yeah. I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
You enjoyed Force Awakens?
Yeah.
What makes The Force Awakens different to this? Because that was, I mean,
would you say
the
that
biggest criticism of Force Awakens is that it's a remake of A New Hope?
No. Yes, that is the biggest criticism. I don't subscribe to that criticism. I would say that it's an unfair comparison to compare this to The Force Awakens.
Why?
I'd say Alien Covenant has much more in common with The Phantom Menace.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I genuinely think that. I genuinely think that. This is closer to the Phantom Menace of the Alien franchise than it is The Force Awakens.
Well, going back and unnecessarily rewriting history.
Yeah, and having everything tie in, like absolutely everything is like, linked in to the point of nausea. Like it shrinks the universe, which is a shame.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I'm not gonna argue too much. This doesn't have Liam Neeson or Jar Jar Binks, which is
the
real shame.
Because of you enjoying it more than me, I feel like I've been negative towards the film the whole way through.
Listen to the last 92 episodes if you want to know how I feel every week.
Yeah, well, but there were things about this film that I did enjoy. Unsurprisingly, they were mainly the bits that were like Alien.
Yeah.
So the body monster horror stuff is good. Yeah. Ripping out of it's unpleasant watching a neomorph rip out of someone's back.
Yeah.
Or their throat, whatever. Like I said, the giant pink monster neomorph was unpleasant, and the med bay, the medical bay sequence, which features 3 minor characters essentially. That is probably the best bit of the film. I think that's when the film's at its strongest for me.
Yeah, because it's real panic, it's real emotion. There's something we haven't seen before.
Yeah, and you're watching
peril.
You're watching people dealing with this for the first time, and that leads me on to one thing that I do think is an unfair criticism of this film and a lot of films, and it pisses me right off, Joe, and that is the argument that basically all the characters just panic and they don't behave like professionals, right, which you will see trotted out time and time again. And I want to once and for all just take that point down, because then these characters are not robots. They're not like, some
of them are.
Well, yeah, one of them is. 2 of them are. If they were all like water, that is the film that you would have if they all behave like professionals. Like if they all maintained a level of decorum.
Like Jason Bourne.
You get the same criticism in Life. In fact, I think you made the same criticism when we were talking about Life, which was that you felt that as soon as it all went wrong, they all abandoned their scientific principles. And it's like, well, yes, of course they do, because they have emotions, they have relationships to one another, they're passionate human individuals. And
I got that more in this than I did in Life.
As in... right, okay. Well,
I subscribe to it more.
Yeah, but but like a lack of character development doesn't make you think, oh, they're incapable. Do you know what I mean? Like,
no.
Like they have, like, it's clear that if they are human beings, they have cares and wishes and desires and feelings, and these people are not trained to go to hostile planets and confront alien creatures, right? They may have weaponry and all that sort of thing, and they may, in an abstract sense, be trained to confront hostile life forms and, may be well aware that there's alien life forms out there. There's not entirely clear at this point whether or not they, if that's widely known that there are extraterrestrials. But, like, aside from all of that, there's, to go watch this film, like we were coming out of the cinema and there's a man saying exactly this. As soon as like one person gets infected and then they all like start shitting themselves. It's like, that is exactly what would happen.
Yeah.
That is precisely what would happen. And the people who trot this argument out time and time again, Joe, are the same people who prefer Aliens to Alien. And I tell you what, in Aliens, they fucking shit themselves.
Yeah.
And it all goes wrong within about 30 seconds. And these are highly trained space marines who are sent in specifically with the purpose of combating alien life forms.
Yeah.
And they lose their minds within about 10 seconds, to the extent that one of them is shouting, they're coming out of the goddamn walls, and then
game over, man.
Right? So this argument that gets trotted out time and time again as a criticism of the film for actually daring to have characters who react in an emotional way to events that are happening in the film that they're a part of is tiresome and a weak line of argument, and I'm sick of it.
I agree with Alien Covenant. I think it was done appropriately.
Right.
I still stand by life is different.
But
because life is just like I just don't care about any of them.
yeah, but I think that I mean, it's well documented that you I think were in a downbeat mood when you saw Life, or like around the time when we were watching and talking about Life. Like we were on, as we said, I think in one of the previous podcasts, we were tired of doing the podcast a little bit, and I think you judged Life harshly, I think. And also, my point isn't really that if you don't care about the characters, then like the point isn't I didn't care about the characters, therefore I don't understand why they reacted emotionally. Because watching a film, if you're watching a film with human characters in it, they will behave in a certain way because they are human beings. You understand the way in which humans behave, and you have a schema for that.
Yeah.
If they reacted in an emotionless way, then that would be an indication of them being a psychopath.
If say when the spine buster, as it must be known, spine burster,
Backburster.
yeah, it comes out. If she'd just grabbed like the fire extinguisher and just started pummeling it,
Yeah.
or pummeling like him while it's still in his back,
Yeah.
would you be like, that's mental?
No, I wouldn't. I'd be, yeah, but that's like,
It's still an emotional response.
yeah, exactly. It'd be like what I feel like the people who make these sorts of comments are looking for is for her to like turn to the woman in the window and go like, you make sure this door keeps shut,
Yeah.
and tell my husband that I love him,
Yeah.
and then just allow herself to die and her friend to just be fine with that as well, because that's just how procedure is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like in life when the thing happens and then the people do the thing, and
Yeah.
you know, like it's the same thing. It's like
How about
if
she'd looked at the woman in the window and gone like shit just got real.
Yeah,
If she put that
exactly.
gun and started shooting it. Yeah.
But like if there was no emotional response on the part of any of the characters, there'd be no stakes, because the reaction to every single development would just be, well, what's procedure? Okay, well, let's just enact that. It's
a fair point.
You know.
All right. Well, there goes all my how to survive ideas.
Yeah. So just before we move on to how to survive,
This might be our longest episode ever.
it could be. There's been a lot to discuss. We just want to check in with a little bit of what do we know.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
obviously, we're talking about the alien generally,
Yeah.
xenomorph life cycle. So here is what I understand to be the alien full
Right.
life cycle.
Okay. So I've arrived on a planet L1 500.
No,
whatever.
we're going back from that.
No, I'm saying like a new planet where there is a
Right.
vase of black liquid.
Okay.
Is that right?
Well, basically, initially, it starts out as the engineer-produced black goo virus, right?
Yeah.
Which is a biological weapon, which we then discover is actually constructed of tiny, like, mosquito
Yeah.
things that fly in swarms, which is how we see the sort of swarm of particles going into people in the start of the film. Okay, so you start off with the little mosquito insects, right? Once they're inside people, they rewrite DNA,
Yeah.
which either kills the people very quickly or impregnates them as a host with an embryo.
I don't think that's true.
I mean, it's true because they stand on the like pustule things in the ground, and then the mosquito things fly into them, and then they get a fucking neomorph in them.
That's true.
Yeah. So once they're inside, they either rewrite the DNA, which kills them very quickly, or impregnate them with a sort of embryo.
Yeah, I think it's more amount, isn't it? Because just a question here. The rewriting of the DNA, I think, is that does happen because they die pretty quickly, and I think alongside that, the embryo also forms, because when we see the whole like world of the engineers get attacked, they're dying and they're falling on the ground and going blah, blah.
Yeah, but they're like breaking down as the engineer does at the start of Prometheus.
But there do appear to be things like bursting out of them as well. I thought that's what I saw.
I didn't see that. Maybe that's true. I think the idea is that this chemical essentially will either produce the embryos or the...
I think David says it produces a hybrid.
Right. Okay. It's different. It's not clear, is it? Essentially.
Why would that be useful? You use mustard gas. Like,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Either way, when an embryo does grow, it grows very quickly and eventually bursts out is a neomorph, which is like the pink things.
Yes.
And that itself quickly grows, as does, as we've seen the xenomorph do previously. It seems to need to feed. That's why it's hunting for things. So at this point, David comes in and cultivates a hybrid of neomorph and human DNA,
right?
And creates the alien eggs.
Yes.
So then the alien eggs grow and produce face huggers, which then await a human host.
Because they require a human host.
Well, let's say a biological host.
Right.
We don't know for certain that it's human doing.
Yeah. Could a facehugger impregnate a horse?
Well, in Alien 3, it's
the dog.
pretending, a dog or an ox, depending on which cut of the film you watch. So it latches onto humans or some sort of animal, impregnates them with a xenomorph embryo, and then the embryo combines, takes on some of the attributes of the host, and then bursts out, and then it could be a queen. In which case, if it's a queen, there's actually two embryos. Right. One's the queen and one's like the guard for the queen. Yeah. And if there's a queen, the queen can then lay its own eggs.
Right. Of course. Which are also presumably
facehuggers.
Yeah, I get you, but they would have to still be hybrid human.
Yeah, neomorph. Presumably there'd be descendants of the same genetic material, wouldn't they?
So what we see in Alien is half human, half neomorph.
Yes, because they are presumably the descendants of the things that David has created. So the engineer ship full of alien eggs is genetically descended from human alien hybrids.
You mean the one at the beginning of Alien?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's fine, because that's the point I made earlier, that David created what is essentially a human.
Right.
Or that has the traits of humans, the worst ones.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that if it like...
Say that again.
So what you're saying is that if it was like impregnated a rabbit or something, it would, be
able to jump really high.
Yeah.
Or just, exactly. Destroy carrots.
Yeah, exactly. With its little mandible thing that comes out. Anyway, Joe, it's that time. Yeah. Finally, long awaited. How would you survive Alien Covenant?
Well, the movie is kind of railroaded, isn't it? Much like all the other Alien films, in that the ones who survive do exactly what you should do to survive. So the question is, I guess, what should you do to not expose yourself to risk? And I'm assuming you've got the same thing here. And if you haven't, then I don't know why. Wear helmets.
Yep. Yeah, that's on my list. Yeah. EVA suits, they have them.
Yeah.
They don't. I understand why they don't wear them on the planet, because it's they've obviously made the calculations that it's breathable.
Breathable, fine, but
a spore could go into you.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, a thing could jump out of an alien egg and latch onto your face.
And I know you said they're not professional when the shit hits the fan. That's fine. Yeah. The shit hasn't hit the fan.
That's true.
It's basic procedure.
Yeah. I mean, a devil's advocate would say that it's clearly not basic procedure because they don't do it.
It should be basic procedure.
It should be basic procedure, yeah. And
They will
it's
be
a fair
alive,
comment
yeah.
because they have access to the gear, and so they should be able to do that, right?
Yeah. So why don't the fact that they don't? I mean, both the initial 2 people who die, which caused. I mean, that's the catalyst for the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's because they're not wearing helmets. Even if they were just wearing like earplugs or like nose
plugs. It would fly in their mouth or something. It can go in between. It can go in the pores anyway.
If they were wearing spacesuits, then
EVA suits or whatever. Yeah.
If you told me like we're going to a planet, no one's been there before. Like I'm not an astronaut. I'm not a scientist, but I would say, well, we know that there are diseases that humans are susceptible to.
Yeah, like in theory.
Remember every mass like exodus from a place. Like or a movement of people, it ends in disease because people aren't immune to the new diseases in the area. Going interstellar, there's going to be issues.
Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, I've got the same thing written down, which it happens rarer than you might think on this podcast. I have to say,
we have different ways of thinking about things. I think.
Well, the second thing I thought I'd bring up is old Captain Oram, who takes over from dearly beloved James Franco.
In his finest role.
Yeah. Certainly the one that I enjoyed the most.
Yeah. He played a man wrapped in sheets who was fired at the sun.
Yeah. Although, actually, one of the disturbing bits of the film, I think, is when he is burning
to death. Yeah.
And you can actually see him, like, writhing as he's on fire. That's quite unpleasant, isn't it? Imagine that. Bad way to wake up. It's a terrible alarm clock, isn't it?
Or just being like emulated.
You got to get up on time, otherwise you're incinerated and pumped out into space.
What I found different about other Alien films is that opened within minutes with a massive stress.
Yeah.
Whereas normally they're quite slow burning, aren't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Changing pace, mate. New ground.
It broke new ground. So old Captain Oram, he's very worried about people liking him, isn't he?
Yeah.
Basically, he's worried that no one likes or respects him. At the same time, doesn't let people grieve for their captain or husband. Now, I haven't read How to Make Friends and Influence People. The famous, is it sort of leadership management?
Yeah, Dale Carnegie.
Yeah. I'm going to guess that chapter 1 is basically allow people to grieve their dead husbands, because it's clear that from that point onwards, he's lost the respect of his entire crew. Yeah. Like from his first meeting, he manages to lose lose respect for the entire crew. Can we bury him?
Nope.
Yeah.
You do as I say.
Just leave his charred remains in the kitchen.
In the corridor.
Yeah. Like, it's and common sense.
When he then sees them having a funeral, he's like, they disobeyed a direct order.
Yeah.
Like, fucking come on, man.
Yeah, fucking wind your neck in, mate. Like, the way the scene unfolds is he's sort of making his first sort of speech as captain to the crew. It's like he's a bit awkward and not very good at public speaking, and there's like a few shots of people giving each other the side eye. Like, that sort of thing is one thing, but to then say you're not allowed to grieve for your dead husband before you get back in an identical replica of the thing that killed him, because I want you to make sure that this like bit of work gets done.
Yeah,
like it's poor management. It's poor management.
Playing devil's advocate, playing aliens advocate, if you will.
Yeah.
The work needs to be done. The ship is not safe.
Yeah. And
you could consider that to be urgent.
Yeah, that's true. But I think
if he said, look, I get it, we'll have the funeral like in 2 hours.
Yeah.
Let's just secure everything first, because we've got 2,000 people on here who are going to die if we don't.
Yeah, because he doesn't even like suggest that. He just says no.
Yeah,
like offer an alternative. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, which isn't a good leadership style. And though I don't think it really directly leads to him being killed or any of the other people being killed.
It doesn't help.
It doesn't help. And open a dialogue with your subordinates, and especially your number 2, who is the widow of the person who just died in a fire.
Exactly.
Like, the only discussion they have is, I would like to raise a concern that going to this unknown planet is a bad idea. And then he goes, well, I disagree. We're going to do it anyway. It's like, well, this is poor. This is poor. He's quite dogmatic, isn't he? In his management style.
Yeah, but you could say his faith is
unmoving.
Yeah, futile.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's basically it.
Right.
Sort of maybe read a management book and allow people to tend to their emotional needs.
Fair point.
If you're their leader.
Fair point and well made. My next point is similar to the other one. You know, you want to wear a helmet. Why not? Don't bother exposing yourself to risk. Send one person down with Walter. Walter goes out and walks around. He doesn't even need breathing apparatus, and nothing can kill him because he is a robot.
Yeah, well, it could rip his head off.
Yeah, but then he's a robot.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, fine. It's like if your toaster got broken, you wouldn't be like, fuck. You wouldn't mourn for him.
Yeah, that's
not
true.
that the captain would
It's
let
frustrating.
you. Yeah.
Because a material possession has broken. Yeah. No, you wouldn't get a funeral service for the toaster.
No.
You can, as you're wrapping it in a sheet.
Having a Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
Neat. Like he would have done. My toaster drinks neat Jack Daniels.
The nutter. Absolute nutter. Yeah. Yeah. So what? How would your how would that have gone?
So it goes like this, right?
Because I've just thought of a potential issue. So
Captain Oram goes right. Matey who can fly the vessel.
Yeah.
And other matey who can fly the vessel. Just two of you. That's all you need. And Walter. Down you go. Radio us back. And he doesn't know at this point that there's going to be a storm coming. Just get down there.
Yeah. Check
the place out. And
so Walter goes out, goes up to the ship, finds the beacon. Yeah, does a bit of research.
He's radioing back to people saying, "Look, here we are. It's the beacon after all."
Yeah. Comes back.
Yeah. He goes,
and goes, "It's fine." Right? Because they're there to colonize the planet.
Right.
So he comes back and goes, "Yeah, it's fine." I mean, I certainly haven't had an alien burst out of my chest, so I can't imagine why that would be any different for you. Yeah. They go out, they step on one of the little pods, spores get inside of them, suddenly it's Neomorph City.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
So basically just don't ever leave the ship.
Yeah.
It's like the broad...
Which is what any sensible person would do.
Yeah.
Like, if I was whoever was funding this colonization mission, and I was like, you're going to planet Opera I-6, whatever it is. You go like, okay, that's fine, we'll go to Opera I-6. If I found out they'd fucking stopped halfway and gone to some other planet, which surely you'd have books written about like the safety issues.
Exactly, yeah.
It's mental.
Yeah.
And
but like, let's say you needed to go to a shop, right? And for some reason you thought the shop was like on the other side of London, and you get on the Northern Line, you're going along, and then like you actually realise there's 4 stops in. Yeah. Right. You'd get off and go to that one, right?
Yeah.
Because it's principally the same thing, right? You do a Google search. It looks, as far as you can tell, to have all the same products. It's the same, similar sized shop or whatever. It's just as habitable. Yeah. And then you go to the shop and suddenly the spores are inside you and you're dead.
Yeah. I see your point. Yeah, it seems more convenient.
Yeah.
The issue is if it was like, okay, you get on the tube and you are immediately unconscious until you arrive at the shop, then it doesn't make any difference if I go to one or the other.
Yeah, but then...
And I may as well go to the one I plan to go to because I know that at least that's safe.
True, but then let's say 10 of you got on 10 different Northern lines and then you all decided to get off at halfway and then one of your number burned to death in a fire. The other 9 of you wouldn't then want to get back on the tube.
I worry that this metaphor is worn thin.
Okay, well, I broadly understand your point, I think.
Yeah.
And speaking of water...
Was it just send water?
Send water.
How do we get to the Northern Life fires?
Yeah. My third idea was, obviously, speaking of water, just have like a code word with him.
Yeah, next one.
Is that your next point as well? Yeah.
Just ask him,
So-
like, what was the thing I said to you yesterday?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, like in World War II, you know,
Mm.
they had flash and thunder and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. So just have the same sort of thing, right? Just ask him literally any,
Yeah.
like, you know, like when they get back up to Covenant,
Yeah.
and like he goes, and you go, Walter, can you just grab me that thing out of the cupboard? And he goes over and he's like looking in the wrong cupboards, and he's like looking around, and like he goes, oh, I am tired, I'm gonna go to bed. And he just opens the door to a cupboard, like and walks in. It's like, I'm starting to wonder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Walter. Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like he like walks, keeps like bumping his head on all the low hanging bits of ceiling that he doesn't realise are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you ask Mother to make a call for Mother? Yeah, I know what Mother is.
She would recognise him to not be Walter, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Walter, you haven't spoken to Mother in a few days. You had an argument.
But he shuts her down, doesn't he, to be reset?
Ah, yeah, of course. It all links in together.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Alien Covenant is a great film, Joe.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Yeah. I can't believe if I had an iPhone and it was 10 years older and I've been using it every day, and another iPhone, you'd go, that's
not a 10-year-old iPhone. Yeah. Yeah. If you'd left your iPhone on a rainy, like apocalyptic wasteland of a planet for 10 years, and then you also had your new iPhone.
You know, I mean, most appliances you have and things, you probably know the main features in them, right?
Mm-hmm. You
would know if your robot had the ability to self-heal and didn't need to be stapled back together. Because that's one of the things. He said they're stapling his face. We see it happen, right? He gets his face slashed. I'm getting confused here. I'm confusing people. Walter gets his face slashed at one point, and it heals itself. Yeah. David is then masquerading as Walter on the ship, and he staples his face. That's a clue. Yeah. That he is not who he says he is. And it surely anyone would go, that's not what our robot can do. Yeah. Yeah. We know that because that's how technology works. Where we're from. Yeah. Yeah. Like if you picked up your iPhone and suddenly you couldn't go on Facebook or Twitter or open WhatsApp, and also it was made by Nokia and made out of plastic, you'd go, this is not my current iPhone. So, yeah. If my iPhone could experience love. Yeah. Yeah. You know the twist at the end? Walter and David twist. Basically the same as the life twist, isn't it, mate? Same films. Anyway, that was episode 93 of How to Survive. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you next week. What's the next film we're covering on the podcast, Joe? Hold on, what? What was the life? The landing on the Earth thing, and it's like the switcheroo with the escape pods. Yeah, but that was obvious. Oh yeah, but this was obvious. This wasn't obvious. It was obvious. We're not having this conversation now. It's been an hour and 20 minutes already. I didn't see it. Yeah. Would you like to just go on record as saying that? What? Go on. I did not see the ending of Alien Covenant coming. I thought that it would be Walter who had rejoined the crew and that he was going to double cross them. Episode 93 of the How to Survive podcast. I saw it. I did see it coming. Are you very clever? Well, you are very smart. You are very smart. No, don't turn it into. No, you're a smart guy. Yeah, thanks very much. The thing is, I overthought it. I'm too smart. Yeah, too smart for my own good. Yeah, too analytical, weren't you? Yeah, yeah. Couldn't see the wood for the trees. Episode 93 of the How to Survive podcast. Thank you very much for listening. That was Alien Covenant. I think we've survived that, Joe, haven't we? Yeah. Next week, we are talking about a Jimmy Cameron classic sequel to a sort of a horror. Yeah. It was made very much within its own budget. Sci-fi. Yeah. Can you guess what it is? That's right. It's Terminator 2: Judgment Day. And that'll be a good one. Yeah. This starts our films about our own fears.
That's
season.
right. Yeah. So we've got 2 films about our own fears, and of course, this one's about your fear.
Yeah.
Which is that a robot is going to come back from the future and kill you, isn't it?
No, it's nuclear war is my big fear.
Right. How are you holding up at the moment?
Each day becomes a little more stressful.
Yeah.
Which makes it more relevant. You know, we can draw on contemporary sources.
Yeah.
The week after that is your biggest fear.
Yes.
Which is also my biggest fear as well, which is The Descent.
Yeah.
Which is about being trapped in a cave underground.
Yeah.
Great. Can't wait.
Lovely.
Listeners, write in with movies that represent your biggest fear. We may be able to fit those into fear season on How to Survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, the email address is howtosurviveshow@gmail.com, and you can reach us all the time on Twitter @HowToSurvivePod. #FilmFear with your recommendations. A bit of social media marketing there, Chris.
Yeah, that's a classic. Can't wait for the engagement.
Yeah, #1 trending worldwide.
Yeah.
Film fear.
#FilmFear. So thank you very much for listening. Again, Terminator 2 next week, because Joe is scared of silly robots from the future.